Basketball. The one sport my videography skills are kind of lacking in. So today, I brought in a friend to discuss basketball, tips editing basketball videos, tips filming basketball itself, and his name is also Peter Sarellas. So I'm gonna send it up to him in the great North, Toronto, Canada.
Hey Pete, thank you so much for having me on the channel. What's going on, everyone? My name is Peter Sarellas. I'm a videographer and editor from Toronto, Canada. I specialize in sports work, specifically creating basketball videos. I'm currently working full-time as a video editor for the Canadian Elite Basketball League here in Toronto, where I create a lot of short-form sports content. A lot of it goes on social media. I do like Instagram Reels. I'll do like longer-form stuff for specific players and teams within the Canadian Elite Basketball League. And today we're going to talk about how I got my start in sports videography. I'm going to give you some tips on shooting and editing cool basketball videos. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a better idea of how you can create cool sports content for social media, and you'll get a better understanding of what it takes to create a career in sports videography. So I got into videography while I was actually studying business. I was in business school and I thought that I was going to be a banker. I got to third year of my finance program and I just was not enjoying it. I didn't like the school I was in. I didn't like the stuff I was learning. I wanted to just get out. So I went on an exchange to Australia because it was the furthest place away from where I was. And I wanted to kind of keep a journal of that experience somehow that year, but I didn't like writing. So I got a GoPro and I told myself I was gonna film videos and keep a journal that way. I'd never edited anything before. I'd never really filmed anything before, except for like on a phone. And I ended up using some random version of Premiere and edited like 40 or 45 vlogs over the course of that year and just like fell in love with editing. I liked it so much, I thought, maybe I can make a career out of this. I was playing basketball in high school, like way back in the day. Once the people who I played basketball with back in high school caught wind of the fact that I was now making videos, some of my old coaches called me up and asked me if I wanted to go and make videos for their teams and for their league. So that was like my first sports videography client.
So as you can see, Pete's beginning kind of was very similar to mine. You know, we both grew up playing the sports that we shoot now and that we specialize in, and we really are passionate about them, and that allows us to grow with them. We kind of stumbled upon this videography profession, this career, and just one day, like Pete with his vlogs, I made a video of me and my friends golfing, and I loved the process of editing. And that's kind of how it is sometimes. You don't know what you want to do in life, and you're doing something else. In Pete's case, it was finance. My case, it was marketing. However you stumble on what you love, your passion, it doesn't matter. As long as you're in it, that is what is important in life, and you're gonna grow at that passion and that whatever it started as a hobby in your career, because you are so passionate about it and you wanna learn about it. You're watching this video here, you're watching Pete's videos, you're watching my own videos, you're watching Idris at Beyond the Game TV, you're watching other creators online. You're gonna grow if you're passionate about something.
Okay, so I started with the CEBL. Well, actually I just applied to a random job that they posted. But like I said before, I've been building up experiences shooting basketball videography in Toronto, in the greater Toronto area. Specifically, I'd shot everything from like grade 4 basketball all the way to like the university level and some of the best university teams in the country. So I had like this really diverse portfolio in a very specific niche. And when I combined that all together, I could show a whole bunch of work that specifically pertained to what the Canadian Elite Basketball League was looking for. And that diverse portfolio is what was able to get me in the door for an interview. And I was fortunate enough to get the job as a video editor for them. And it's been a great connection. I feel like they give me the creative freedom to do projects that I'm passionate about and that I care about that I can use going forward in my portfolio. And they also give me the experience to shoot a higher level of basketball. It's more of a professional environment where I have more tools at my disposal. So it's kind of above some of the other experiences I've had in terms of like the professional atmosphere, which I really enjoy. And I feel like I provide a lot of value for them as well with my style and like my vision for creating basketball videos, if that doesn't sound too cliche or anything. but it's been a really good fit is what I'm trying to say. And it all just started because I applied for a job and I would be building a diverse portfolio in the field that I wanted to work in for a number of years. So that was really the key.
Like Pete said, when you're starting out in basketball or any sport in general, you're gonna have to just start small. Make videos for your friends, make videos for free, for coaches, local youth teams, anything like that. Anything to get your foot in the door, and you really need to build a diverse portfolio, and the more things you shoot, the better you're gonna be. So if you shoot you and your friends going on a road trip, even though it's not related to basketball, you can take those skills and those repetitions and implement them into your own skills and your own basketball videos that you're doing for free initially, and then you can start making money and charging things once you build up that reputation and that portfolio. And then maybe eventually you'll be able to get a job, whether it's Canadian Basketball League, the NBA, a college team in Canada or the United States. That's how you do it. You got to build up a diverse portfolio.
All right, so when I'm filming basketball videos, like at a game or something, there's a few things that I think are important to do, and there's also a couple of things that I look for and attempt to do like with the camera. So firstly, I like to keep a shot list when I'm at games. I don't always do this if I know I'm gonna have like a play-by-play or something that's gonna be available online to me after, like I do at the CEBL. But if I'm filming like a high school game or a college game and there's no play-by-play being uploaded online for me to search through after, then while I'm shooting, I usually like take notes on my phone with like the file number and some keywords about what happened in the clip that I just shot if I think that it's an important clip that I can use. And this helps make my editing process a little faster because I don't need to look through every single footage or every single piece of footage for hours and hours and hours. I can kind of just pick the good stuff and have like an assembly edit right away and then fill in the gaps. I also like to shoot a little bit wider for my basketball videos because a lot of the time I'll do like motion tracking where I'll stabilize the motion of the shot around a person or around the ball. And if you're gonna do this type of thing, then the frame is gonna be literally moving in your editing program. It's gonna create little transparent areas where the video is not covering. So you're probably gonna have to scale your video up a little bit to make it fit the frame. And if you haven't shot too wide, then when you scale it up, you're gonna be in like a really tight shot and you're not gonna be able to see what's happening. So it's important to shoot a little wider than you think you need to if you plan on doing any motion tracking or stabilization effects. At least that's what I've found in my experience. Also, I shoot fully in autofocus. I barely ever use manual focus. My go-to setup is a Sony a7 III with a Sony 7200mm f4 and Tamron 28-75 f2.8. I find that with both of those lenses, the camera performs really well with autofocus. I almost never need to use manual. And if I ever want to focus on something specific while I'm in autofocus, I'll just like hold the shutter button like right here. I'll hold that down and it'll kind of lock my focus, and then I can move the camera around. And whenever I want that to stop and I want to go back to regular autofocus, I just kind of take my finger off. And then when back into autofocus, I can zoom in, zoom out, whatever I need to do. Pete, I know that you shoot manual focus. There's nothing wrong with shooting manual focus. If you can pull focus all game, then go nuts. Pull focus all game, shoot manual focus. Like if you're really good at pulling manual, then you're probably gonna get better results than shooting auto. But I find that shooting autofocus doesn't hinder me in any way. The camera performs well enough. Pete, you and I also shoot very different sports. I'm sure filming baseball is nothing like filming basketball. I've never filmed baseball, so I can't really speak to it. Baseball being a little bit of a slower paced, more static game makes it more reasonable to pull manual focus. Please step in here and just cut this off and correct me if I'm wrong.
So auto versus manual focus was a big thing that Pete and I have discussed in the past. We've discussed this in the comment section of my YouTube video that I made on the topic of autofocus versus manual focus in sports, and also on Instagram DMs. So he shoots autofocus, and I understand with a sport like basketball. I've shot basketball on manual before, and it is hard. You will miss a lot of things. On autofocus, if you have a camera that is capable of being able to capture things in focus, why not use it, you know, if that makes sense? Because like Pete said, basketball is so fast, you're tracking things so fast and you're moving the camera back and forth, tracking the ball. You don't want to have to worry about focusing, and we're pulling focus sometimes. So I get it. And plus, he's the expert in this situation. What am I to know?
So when I'm filming basketball, a lot of the time I like to film in-camera transitions. That basically means that I will use motion blur from the camera in one shot to cut with another clip and hide the cut and make the clips go together seamlessly. So what I will often do is I'll be taking a shot, the shot will happen, and then I'll whip the camera away. In this case, I whip it from right to left. When I start my next shot, I'll whip the camera from right to left to focus on my subject. Now I've got that first clip where I whip from right to left to end, and the second clip where I whip from right to left to start the clip. You take those two clips on your timeline, you cut them together so that there's a cut where each of the cameras was in the middle of its whipping motion. And then when you put them back to back, it's just gonna look like one seamless whip from one camera to the next, and that can take you from one place to the next without you actually showing a cut. When you're watching on Instagram, kind of allows the viewer to stay more immersed in the video. It doesn't like take them out of it.
A lot of the techniques, talking in-camera transitions and just technicalities of using a camera, are applicable to not only basketball, but to every sport. These are things I've used in football videos, in basketball videos, obviously, and in baseball, softball, whatever it be. Equestrian, I've used these techniques before too. So if you want to dive into in-camera transitions and whipping, it's definitely something to add to your arsenal of what you can do, and it definitely immerses a viewer and the audience into the video more.
All right, a couple key tips when you're editing basketball videos. The first thing I want to say is that your video needs to stand without effects. Like, your video needs to be a good piece without any effects on it, just as like a raw cut. You want to make sure that your video is paced well so that you have like highs and lows. You want to have those peaks and valleys in your edit when you're cutting. So maybe you start off on a really high note with a guy going up for like a crazy dunk, and then you kind of like slow it down a little, show some B-roll of people warming up. You can show like cheerleaders or like pyro or like guys coming out of the tunnel like slapping hands or whatever. And then you have to get into your game. You got maybe a couple layups, a jump shot, like someone giving a hype reaction, that's like another little peak. And then you kind of can dip into a valley. You show like the coach like drawing up a play, guys like sweating, nodding their heads, like some intense moments. And then you finish with like that big play that wins the game for a team and like some really hype reactions and fans cheering. And that's like your final peak, that's like the climax. But as you're cutting this video, you're making sure that the emotions and attention of the audience is going like up and down and up and down. And like these emotional swings are gonna keep your audience engaged. So you want to watch your video back after you cut it and make sure you have those peaks and valleys in it and that you're keeping the audience engaged. You don't want to just like stack all the sick plays right at the front and then the second half of your video is just like random garbage that no one wants to watch and no one ever watches a full video that you made. Like, you don't want that. You want people to get to the end. You want people to understand the full story of your video. I think effects can be really good. I do a lot of effects tutorials on my channel. I use a lot of effects in my videos, but I don't think that effects can make your video great. I think you need a good cut before you can use effects, and then a video that's cut well with effects is then a great video. But if you have a video that's not cut well and then you just put a bunch of effects on it, that can't really make it good. Also, when you're editing, I think that sound design is super important. I think that sound is like the most overlooked part of videos. I always make sure to go and like add every little dribble and add the swish sound effects and like add the shoes squeaking for every video that I make. One, I think this is important because it creates a more immersive experience for the viewer. They can be like, it's one more way that the person watching your video can be engaged in the edit that you're making. And two, all the basketball videos that I see online don't have any sound design to them, or if they do, it's like very minimal, like just the swish sounds of the ball going into the basket, and they don't sound that realistic. So by taking the time to craft some accurate, immersive sound design, I feel like I can make my videos stand out, and I think it really helps the end product of the videos that I put out. So don't overlook this. I know it's not the flashiest thing. It's very meticulous work, but sound design is super important.
Everything Pete said here was absolutely brilliant, and every time I listen to him talk or watch one of his videos, I learned something new. One thing that I took away, particularly from watching this footage back for this collab video, was the peaks and valleys instant there. That was something that I really haven't ever thought about. I think it's something that naturally occurs, but creating those peaks and valleys is a super intriguing and interesting way to immerse your audience and kind of take them through this roller coaster ride that can be a sporting event or a basketball game. Your video should always be able to stand without effects. This kind of reminds me of that travel film or that travel vlogger trend where everyone was just loading their videos with effects. You shouldn't do that. Your videos should be good without effects, and effects should be that kind of icing on the cake. Now, Pete is very good at applying effects to his videos, and he does it in a very good way. Sound design is a very critical part of any video, regardless of sport. But basketball in particular, there's a lot of cool sounds in basketball, most notably the squeaking of shoes. You could create an atmosphere within your video that further immerses your audience into it and into the story of the video.
Pete, thank you so much for having me on your channel. If you all saw too much of my face in this video, since this is Pete's channel and you want to see more of him, Bob over to my channel right now. We did another collaboration where Pete comes on to my channel, talks about his experiences working at the MLB, working as a full-time creator in baseball. I'm so thankful that I got to come on here and share all of my experience with you working in basketball and talk about the Canadian sport media industry. This is something that I'm really passionate about, so I hope that you got a lot of value out of what I had to share here from the guys with the 2 best names in sport videography YouTube. Peace.